Welcome to PlayStation Corner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at Kowloon High School Chronicle, which just released on the PlayStation 4. Of course this will work as well on the PlayStation 5, and today's video it was sponsored by Arc System Works America, so a shout out to them for supporting the channel. With that though, hit subscribe, join us here on PlayStation Corner for reviews and deals weekly, and let's get started. A quick notice in today's footage, it will be a combination of both PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. They were prepping for full release at the time of recording the video. The game though remains the same throughout, but some of the prompts on screen basically, they will match a Nintendo setup. I was excited to jump into this one though, with it being recognised now as a 90s classic. Here though, we'll be taking a look at the story, gameplay, graphics and audio, and then find my link in the pinned comment down below to the PlayStation Store where you can pick up your copy right now. Story then, and it's a big deal of this release. It's the first time it's seen a Western localization since its initial PlayStation 2 release back in 2004 in Japan. It's for sure been a long awaited, and treasure hunter fans, think the likes of Indiana Jones and The Mummy, this may well be the game for you. It's especially noticeable, these influences, in the opening intro cutscene. There's just something awesome about the text they use. Opening the game though, we find ourselves exploring a tomb in Egypt looking for a rune, but a shady organisation is there to deceive and betray us. With a number of outcomes for each scenario, my attempt I escaped, and we now learn of our role in what is a secret treasure hunter society. This opening dungeon though, it not only acts as a way to introduce us to this world, these characters, but we get to choose our name, choose kind of our background, and it will also walk us through the basics of the game. This is then where the core plot starts to reveal itself. It's been uncovered that a ruin may be underneath a school, and the next thing you know, you arrive to class, you're posing as a transfer student. Now we need to uncover the mysteries of what is potentially an ancient civilization buried under this world. Expect to make friends at this school though who can assist you. There's going to be enemies along the way as well, even relationships to build. It's deep on the story front, and I'm a sucker for anything Indiana Jones-esque, so this immediately grabbed me personally. Kowloon High School Chronicle then is a hybrid RPG. It's part 3D dungeon crawler, part visual novel for the dialogue. The latter is a little bit more involved though than the typical genre entry, not just sit back and relax. The game's constantly asking you for input, whether that's choosing a response or using its unique conversation system. You see, it does have the usual text options occasionally that you see scattered throughout the game, but it actually mainly relies on a system of expressing yourself. It's going to be a dialogue that pops up on screen, and it gives an emotional response of some sort, so think anger, joy, love, confusion. This then influences the cast around you and how they basically view you personally. It can basically change the direction of the game and how the conversations proceed. It's no question unique though, and I found myself questioning more often in this one, if I do A or B, what difference will that make in the response? Also, what if I like a character? Do I really want to give them, let's say, an angry glare? So yeah, it's definitely different, especially when there's no cookie cutter responses, which are normally pretty easy to translate to how they will impact those you are talking to. This one, I guess it doesn't let you read between the lines like that, which adds an extra dash of, I guess, value and thought when it comes to making that decision. I originally played this though on the Nintendo Switch. They asked me today to show kind of the intro of the experience, but it packs some decent challenge with progression as well. Fortunately though, if you are new to the genre or even slightly concerned, it actually packs multiple difficulty options and also an extensive text-based guide which will help you through all of the individual mechanics of the experience. This it's known as HANT, or basically the in-game menu. The other element of the game then, that is the 3D dungeon crawling, of course, a bit of a classic setup that's not loved quite enough in the current gen of systems, but think here, a combination of exploration, puzzles, and of course that combat. Movement here is simple enough, left stick controls both momentum and direction, and this is not so old school that it's one step at a time outside of the turning, but yeah, it's pretty free flowing and pretty quick going. These dungeons then, they of course pack puzzles as well, but the game's always gonna give you a helping hand. There's basically hints around this world you need to uncover to navigate them. Think of the first one, Egypt. There's this ancient stone with text on it that tells you the lions need to face each other, but the lion is actually missing. go find it, put it back in its place. It's kind of that classic Indiana Jones vibe of identifying what something means and then actioning upon it. As you do get further into the game as well, expect these puzzles to turn into traps. You'll even then be able to choose from your friends, classmates, allies before braving these dungeons. Balance the correct team though to find that success just a little bit easier. Around the puzzles then we will have what is a relatively sizable inventory system, and you can not only use items in certain situations, but you can actually combine them as well. This is where the real kind of RPG elements come into play. Our hand then, again, that's kind of the tablet we carry. It acts as almost the game's menu that will tell us what sort of items work together and the reactions they cause. Another simple example of this, burning away metal, blocking us from the next door we need. Combat finally for the dungeons, and to jump into this, you'll need to change your character's stance. We have the two here, that is of course exploration and combat. So in combat you can of course still move, but you'll have now a selection of weapons and prompts in the lower right of the screen to choose from, and they're attached to the face buttons. So let's say you want to fire a gun at an enemy. Simple, choose your gun and now a reticle appears on screen. Traditionally, often this would be, auto aim. Here you actually need to move that reticle over your enemy before pressing the input again to fire. Like I said, it kind of takes the traditional systems and makes them just a little bit more involved. It's also worth knowing it's still turn-based. You will be working around points and run out and it's going to be your enemy's turn. So there's a strategy in facing off against the right enemy first. Gameplay wise though, this packs a huge story and immediately it will grab you with a mystery, and this is all then supported by a likeable cast, and yeah, it's great to see it get this translation and upgrades. Visually then, this has understandably seen a huge upgrade over that original release. The character models here are super strong first off, whether that's in the novel element or the dungeon crawling, with a combination of 2D and 3D elements, so that can often be a little bit jarring as they jump between the two, but here they created this crossover of 2D characters in both sections, so whether that's conversation or combat, it really makes it all feel part of that same experience. The same can actually be said for the 3D as well then. The visual novel elements have 3D backgrounds which complements that dungeon crawling, and one other noticeable element is screen size. The dialogue, the visual novel portion of the game, it's still presented in the original format, so black bars on either side of the screen. The dungeon crawling has the option to play the original or even full screen, and I thought that was a really nice adjustment. The resolution bump and textures though make a huge difference to this world. There's a nice variety in locations, and then the cutscenes, they are very much kind of, a piece of their time, but when you blend it with the setting and the adventure element, it's easy to find the charm in them as they reflect the life of this adventurer. Audio finally in top quality. The dialogue is presented in Japanese, fully voice acted, and then there's also a navigation voiceover. This can be in English or Japanese from the game's options. The music then is my favourite part. It's got this almost jazz style to it at times. It means it kind of easily can transition from playful as you hunt around the school to reflecting the immediate danger in dungeons that you face. So thank you again for joining me today to take a look at Kowloon High School Chronicle, and again a huge shout out to Arc System Works for sponsoring this video. For those that watch my other channels like Switch Corner and Xbox Corner, you will know I'm a huge fan of their work, so it was a real privilege to get the opportunity to share this one with you all. Kowloon High School Chronicle though, it's a really unique release, and the fact that they picked it up this many years later and gave it this treatment to bring it with an English translation, that is impressive. Once you jump into this world, you'll understand just how much dialogue is in here, what that translation work must have looked like. This basically was no small undertaking, that is for sure, but I know there was a huge community for it on the Nintendo Switch, and hopefully it finds that same audience on the PlayStation 4 and 5 as well. If an adventure though with an air of Indiana Jones sounds like your thing, this one may well be for you. You'll be exploring dungeons, solving progressively challenging puzzles, avoiding traps, building up a team, and then of course generally just socializing with those around you. It's all then reinforced with a deep story that attempts and succeeds with this unique dialogue system that's built around emotion, and it adds a new challenge to something as simple as, just choosing a response. You'll find my link again down below in the pinned comment and the video description, so go take a look, see if it's going to be one for you over on the PlayStation Store that supports both Arc and the channel directly. With that then, look, hit subscribe, join us here on PlayStation Corner for reviews and deals weekly, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.